We look for it, we search for it, we try to buy it. This is one of the things that we crave as human beings. And we go to so many great lengths to try to find it. And yet so many times we are left unfulfilled and unsatisfied. And that's why I'm so excited to spend the next couple of short lessons looking at the book of Philippians. Philippians is a book full of joy and happiness. And I think if we study the book of Philippians, we can find out how to find joy and happiness. And the first place I wanted to look is in Philippians chapter 1. And what Philippians 1, one of the things it's bringing out in the text is something that is so countercultural to us, something that is hard for us to grasp onto. But one of the things that it brings out is that we can find joy by putting others first. And this is so different than what our culture tells us. Our culture tells us to look out for number one, it's all about me, myself, and I. It's all about, just trying to claw our way to the top, and it doesn't matter who gets in our way or how we treat them. Philippians, it completely reverses that and says it's about putting others first. And we see this in two main places I'm going to focus on for right now. And first of all, we have to realize that when Paul is writing the letter to the Philippians, he's in jail. He is in chains. And yet, even though he's in jail and he's in chains, other people have taken this opportunity to try to do wrong to him, and they've tried to preach the gospel in a way to make Paul look bad. And here's what Paul says. He says this. He says in verse 17, "The former preach Christ out of selfish ambition, not sincerely, supposing that they can stir up trouble for me while I am in chains. But what does it matter? The important thing is that in every way, whether false motives or true, Christ is preached." He says that, hey, people are using this as an opportunity to put me down. People are using this as an opportunity to climb all over me so they can promote their own agenda. But I don't care. As long as Christ is being preached, it doesn't matter what happens to me. And I just find that so amazing. And another thing I wanted to point out was, he says this. He says in verse 4, "In all of my prayers for all of you, I always pray with joy," which I find so amazing. He's in prison. And instead of focusing on himself, he's praying for them. And he has joy, even though he's in prison. And here's the reason he has joy. It says in verse 5, "Because of your partnership in the gospel from the first day until now." So he is putting them first. He's putting the gospel first. But the thing is they're putting him first. They've partnered within the gospel. They've partnered with him in the gospel. Philippians 4, starting in verse 15, talks more about this and what this looks like. But even though no one else was supporting Paul at the beginning, the Philippian church, they brought gifts to him, and they made sure that he was taken care of and supplied for. And this is so different than the world. The world is all about getting what I need and what's going to make me happy. And Paul is saying in Philippians, no. It's not about finding your needs, but it's about helping others and putting others first. And I think this makes sense for two reasons. First of all, this is how God made us. In Genesis chapter 1, God says, "Let us make man in our own image." And so we were created in the image of God. And when we put others first, we are living our lives in a way for how God made us. Because God is a God who puts others first. We see this in the best example of Jesus dying on the cross. He put you and me first when He died on the cross. He didn't have to do that. And so when we put others first, We are living the way that we are supposed to, how we were made to live, because we were made in God's image. And then second of all, when we put others first, God recognizes and realizes that we're not looking out for ourselves, that we're not trying to take care of ourselves, and in a way that we're trusting God, saying, hey, God, I'm not going to worry about myself because I'm going to worry about them. And when God sees that, God says, hey, you worry about them and I will take care of you. And so in Philippians 4, as Paul talks about how the church at Philippi was taking care of him, he says this right afterwards in verse 19. He says, and my God will meet all of your needs according to the riches of His glory in Christ Jesus. He says, hey, because you have been concerned with me and taking care of me, you're not worried about taking care of yourself, but you're taking care of me. That means that God's going to take care of you according to your needs. And the important note is it says needs. It doesn't say wants. It doesn't mean that God's going to give us everything that we want. But God will give us what we need when we put others first.